and welcome to Daddy Life London. Apologies it's been so long. I recently started a new job in the last couple of months. We had Christmas, we had family staying, we had transition between me and my other half during adoption leave. There was just so much going on. It just got really crazy and just didn't really get any time to do this, and I wanted to make sure I put the effort and energy into family, obviously new job, but now I find myself with a little bit of time and feeling a little bit reflective, and there was a couple of topics that I'm kind of ready to talk about. I think the one today, given it's why I'm late, is starting a new job, but not particularly starting a new job. It's going back to work, and that being a new job, whilst having just had so much time off with our little man. So I was off for 8 months, I think it was, with our little boy, and that has just been such an amazing time to form a bond and an attachment with him. I feel really, really close to him, and I feel very much like he knows that I'm there if he needs him. And we've had a couple of issues in the last couple of months between the hospital visit for croup, quite severe croup, it's really bad, quite scary, and some long fevers after starting nursery, where it's been really clear that he feels really safe and secure with us and really seeks us out when he's not feeling well. So that's been amazing. Going back to work, however, has been, a real challenge, and it's come at a time when we've been trying to transition Papa taking over, and Papa was only off for a short period of time and then went back to work, and we're trying to introduce nursery, and lots of change was going on for all of us, and that's been really difficult. So the premise of this for me was really to talk about how we were juggling what's going on, but I suppose also I'm going to talk about and reflect on what I've learned and maybe what I've seen and how he's reacted to that situation. So first of all, make sure you have a plan, have a routine. We were really clear that this is for nursery, by the way, because it all kind of happened at the same time. We were really clear that there would be a clear person who was dropping off and picking up, because that suits our jobs in different ways based on the time of day that it's kind of better for us to be in work. That's worked out most of the time, apart from sickness or work drinks or things like that. And I think it's good for him because it means that he gets consistency about who's taking him and who's picking up, although I do like to make sure that you never have too much routine, and we do break that up to make sure that he can cope with those sorts of changes. I definitely struggled, I think, starting a new job, starting work, not so much with missing him, because I knew he was in good hands. In the beginning was being looked after by Papa, and then he was going to nursery, and I was really comfortable with that, and I know that was the right environment for him. But I think trying to get your brain back from, quite frankly, a fairly therapeutic parenting style approach where most of your day is spent with a little toddler, trying to teach them about the world and work out how they're reacting and how they're growing, and that's quite a day-to-day challenge of thinking about how to react to them. So going back into the work where quite frankly there can be bigger children that you have to deal with, but with much more capability to talk back to you. So it's I know it's not been that bad, but it's interesting because you're moving into this full-on adult conversation. You're having to reinvigorate your brain to your professional capability, which I thought I was going to really struggle with, and actually my brain has kind of flown, I think, in terms of the thoughts and ideas and the approach. Albeit being a new job can be overwhelming in its own right, because you have to get the lay of the land, think about how the company operates, get strength and size and understanding of a team. But what I have found is being able to come home and go straight into that mode of picking him up and bringing him home and doing his dinner has been just really, really refreshing, and so different to what I'm used to, because it really pulls you out of that day-to-day bog that sometimes you can get into with the challenges you've got in your work life, and it forces you to think about the fact you've got something at home that's quite frankly more important than what you go to work for. And saying to someone the other day, there's that phrase that says you work to live, not live to work. And I'm trying to find the right balance of what that means, because sometimes you do have to speculate a bit more at work in order to get yourself into a position, especially in a new job, where you can be more comfortable with your work-life balance. But it's definitely been really refreshing. I think he found it difficult starting nursery. Like, not, it's more about drop-offs. Once he was there, he was fine. In fact, he was eating all day. That's always a positive sign. He started sleeping within about a week at nap time. He got lots of illnesses. I wasn't prepared for that, and I know people must have said it to us before, but it was just an onslaught of illness after illness after illness, which ultimately came into us. Again, not great, your job. So that has been really challenging, seeing how ill he's been and feeling like it's relentless because it completely breaks his behaviour. Although he's generally been relatively well behaved, he's not been as predictable in terms of feeding time or bedtime or bath time. And so we've been trying to keep to the rigid routines with him so that he's got some structure. But that's been challenging when actually, when you get home after a busy day, you just kind of want that to be the easy bit, to be the fun bit, and it kind of hasn't been. It's been easier the last few weeks because actually he started to get a lot more healthy, building up his immune system, which is all really good. But it was a lot more stressful than I was anticipating, and obviously as a new parent, you're not sure how ill is too ill, how many illnesses should you get, and then after speaking to a number of people, everyone's just like, oh yes, I remember that time when they went to nursery and they spent 6 months getting ill. Well, there you go. I didn't realise that, or perhaps it didn't sink into my brain when people told it to me before we had children, but there you go. It does happen, but it's good to see him fighting fit, and he's developing so quickly now he's in nursery. It's incredible. It's really good to see him, really fun, and it's nice to go in and see how much he's enjoying himself when you get there, although he does come and give you a nice big hug and look forward to going home. And if I pick him up, he asks for Papa, or if Papa picks him up, he asks for Daddy, which is nice because he always wants to see both of us, which is just good for us to both know. So back to work has been really good, and I'm really proud and positive about my experience of going back to work. I've got a long way to go, I've got lots to do, but I feel like I'm starting to find my feet between work, home, and all that goes in between. And now that the little man's starting to get better, we're starting to think about what activities we can start to maybe pick up again at the weekends, because that's been his respite really, the weekends at the moment, which has been kind of good for us, but also you need to get out of the house sometimes as well. I think having an understanding environment at work is really important, and when I interviewed for my new role, I was really clear about my circumstances and what I required in terms of work-life balance, which was a really hard thing to do, because I often fear that if you talk to an employer about work-life balance, you might just be seeming to be a 9-to-5er or somebody that just wants to come in and do their hours and go home, etc. But that obviously wasn't the message I was trying to give. It was just that I have a young family and it's important to me to spend time with them and to be present. Obviously I work Monday to Friday, sometimes that can be weekends, but I'm there to do my job and I'll do what I need to do in order to make that happen. But at the same time, I've got to be able to spend time with my family and be present in my family and enjoy my family, because that's what we're here for. And I was lucky enough to be interviewed by somebody that I think really understood and respected that, and I'm been really pleasantly surprised with the support that I've had without really having to seek it. Just a real understanding of my nursery duties, and that sometimes I've not been able to do both, but when I've not been able to do a pick up or a drop off on a day because I've had to have a busy day, they've made sure I'm counterbalancing that by having, say, a working from home day that does allow me to go and do both, so that not only does the little man get to see me more, but ultimately Papa gets his time with work as well and doesn't feel like he's being a single parent, and that's going to work vice versa. So I think that's been a really positive experience and really refreshing approach. Maybe I was being too sceptical, but it's just been really nice to receive that kind of support and understanding, especially in the kind of high-pressured, quite stressful job that I do. So back to work, been really good. This is a relatively positive, hopefully, update. I've got a couple more that I want to talk about. So I did say last time I was talking about travelling, I think, with a toddler. We did that last year. That was an experience, let me tell you. So lots to talk about in that one. I think the short version is I wouldn't travel with a toddler that had only had for less than a year that far again. But there you go, you live and you learn. And there's a couple more bits as well. So signing off for now. thanks for listening, and sorry it's been so long. I will try and keep these up a bit more often. Probably going to shake them up a little bit, maybe start to introduce some guest speakers, because it's not all about me. There's lots of other experiences out there, and I think it's useful to hear from other people too. Right, thanks.